Linda here, the scrapbooking photographer. Welcome to my channel and thanks for stopping by. Today we're taking part in a few hops, but primarily the video has been released today for the hop on the layout library, and this month's topic is sleepy pets. So I am introducing you to our latest member of the family, which is Percy. And Percy was an SPCA cat who came to us when we went to them and said we were looking for a cat, but we needed one that had enough personality to cope with 3 dogs. And they showed us Percy, and they had one other that we could see, but we didn't meet that one, otherwise we'd have come home with 2 cats. But Percy has settled in really well. He's got the dogs all under control and they do anything he says now, and he's obviously settled in well enough to sleep wherever he wants and loves to sit on my lap, which I just adore. So we're doing Percy for our sleepy pets for the Layout Library. Now, if you haven't heard of the Layout Library, it's a group I run on Facebook where there's lots of people sharing their experience and giving tips and tricks and showing their layouts for different topics. So we have a different topic each month, but it's open to share anything that you complete. So I'll put up a link in the description below so you can check us out. So that's the Layout Library. I'm also following a sketch from the Black Magic Sketches, which is this one. So I'm using a black base for the bottom of the page, and then I'll incorporate the grey and the green. I've also got a paper at the back which is patterned with a lighter green, so I'll kind of blend it in a little bit there. And the third thing that I'm meeting the criteria for today is Scraptember, and today's prompt is to use pattern papers. So I have these 2 pattern papers. I thought this was lovely. This is from the Country Lace pack from Stampin Up, as is this piece. So I could use the grey on there, but I've decided to use that one on the back and then mount the photos on here. And I'm going to do some mixed media on this one before we put it all together. I have already gutted the back here and mounted the photos into the size of 3x4. Right, so I thought I'd just copy the sketch a little bit, the way they have brought in some ink around the bottom. And I thought Old Olive is the perfect colour because it's kind of the colour of Percival's eyes. I am going to go straight onto this paper with the Old Olive, and then I'll trim it down because we've got the black base, so we only need 11.5 by 11.5. I might make it 11 by 11 actually, and have a good 1/2 inch of frame of black around the outside, because we're also going to bring some black in with that fishtail. I'm just going to pop a little bit of this around the outside. The pattern that's on this paper, can you see it? I'll bring it up a little bit closer for you. It looks like it's been stenciled. It hasn't. This is the way it came. Just pattern paper in the pack, just like that. But I thought it looked quite cool. And I don't want this to be even either, this blending brush ink. I just want it to kind of be hodgepodge. And then when we bring this in on top, we'll see a little bit of the nude paper and a little bit of the green. So I'll pop the lid on that and cut 1/2 inch off 2 sides. No, what did I say? I'm going to cut 1 inch off 2 sides. I'll keep these bits that I've cut off because they look quite cool, and I might use those on the companion page. For those of you new to Stampin' Up, you may not realise, you may not realise that there are 3 solid 12 by 12 colours that we can use for pages. There's the black, the white willow, and there's also the crumb cake, which works really well for natural type pages. So those are the 3 12 by 12 colours that we can use for a base page. And of course I'm using black. Now I have gutted the middle out, and as I mentioned, I've cut 1 inch off 2 sides of what we've just put some ink on, so that gives us a good 1/2 inch border around the outside. Now the photos are going to be on this piece of grey, and I'm going to leave a little bit of room down the bottom for journaling, and I'm not going to arrange them quite the same as what's in the sketch because it doesn't quite work. I thought I'd just mix them up a little bit. Now I thought about mounting this grey bit, and I still may, but I think what I'm going to do is distress it around the outside with my distresser tool. Just cover that little bit of blanky there. I could go like that actually. It's a matter of fiddling it around and seeing what works the best. I think that gives us a fairly good impression of Percy's sleeping habits, which are basically anywhere he wants. Right, so I'll cut this off, leaving a little room for journaling. I think the black mount would be just too heavy against what we've put in between this and the black paper. And we're going to bring some black in with the fishtail as well. So I'm just going to distress this and fold it up the way you've probably seen me do it before. So I'll race ahead and do that without you listening to this scratchy noise while I do it, and I'll be back when that's ready to go. Okay, so I've got that all distressed around the outside, and I've also just tipped up the edge a little bit to show us a bit more, and I think it does need a little something behind. So what I'm going to do is use the pewter from Close to My Heart and just do the similar type blending brush effect so that it's just around the outside. I think a black border would be too harsh. Mixes in with the green quite nicely. And interestingly enough, Percy's eyes are very green. They're not open in any of these pictures today, but they are beautiful green, brilliant eyes. Right, I think we can just about start sticking some of these things down now. That's there, and that'll go in there, and I think that just gives it a little bit of a transition, really. Now the fishtail effect will come down here, and I thought I might do quite a big one, not that big. I'll cut a little bit off this here. So what we want to do is get the midpoint of this one, and we'll use our mat for that. The midpoint, I'll just mark with a pencil, is here. And we don't want to come down too far, so only it's going to be a very kind of wide angle fishtail. And I think it's probably best to use the trimmer for this. So having it straight on the board. Yeah, and then what we're going to do is go from the side corner into the middle. So it's a matter of lining it up so that it's in the track, so that we can just see the edge of what we've just cut there and the corner at the other side. And because we're coming from a corner, we'll just lift it up slightly and come down so we can go into the corner that way and then into this bit that way. That's come out perfectly. And then we'll turn it round and do the same on the other side. So again, making sure it's got the corner and the track there and this edge of our slit there. And then we'll start in the middle. So we go up to the corner rather than coming into the corner and down to the join. That's going to go in there like so. Right, so I'm going to stick everything down and then we'll come back to finish off. So while I'm thinking about what I'm going to do for journaling down here, I'm just going to use my Stampin' Up black pen and do a little bit of doodling. It's a matter of just staying close to the edge. It doesn't need to be straight. And you can go back and add little bits just to dress it up a little bit. And that just brings the black and the black and the black and the black. I'll put a little strip of black in here and write in some white pen. Now these are strips that I cut off somewhere. I wonder if they're the same size. Yep, they are, so that could work there. These are just offcuts from what we've cut off different things, so we'll just have a little fiddle with that. I think what I'll do is use this piece that we cut off one of the sides and cut some alphabets out of it to make his name, which will fit in here. I think that will work. Let's have a little look. So this alphabet comes as one sheet. They call it the mini alphabet, and normally you would cut it all out in one lot, but with a strip like this we haven't got that luxury, so we're going to try and do it individually. We need P-E-R-C-Y, which very unhelpfully means that each letter is in a different line, but we've got two strips, so we'll see how we go. It's a matter of cutting it so that we've got the Y covered, and then cutting the letters out. I'll just see if that's what I want before I go ahead and cut everything else out. Yep, that's going to bring that in really nicely. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut the rest out and come back when we're putting it together. Okay, so now we have got the letters for his name, and I've also used a little bit of the leftover strip to make a strip of 1/4 of an inch wide, just to go in the middle of that black. And I think that will kind of help. It's not really a journaling as such, but actually I could put a little bit of journaling on these strips, couldn't I? It's not a lot to say, except making himself at home. He sleeps anywhere. So I could probably write that on these strips that are here. Now I'll try and line this up so that it's at the bottom of that one. And then we've still got some room for the rectangular, bigger rectangular one with letters on to go in the middle. And then I'll put his little name in there, P and the Y first, and then can line up what comes in between. Just add the journaling that I talked about. All right, so we've got our big title, our journaling photos, just need a couple of embellishments. I have this sheet of stickers that from an old Close to My Heart pack, and I quite like the outline of this cat, but obviously I don't want to put white on there because Percy isn't a white cat, and also it would just bark a little bit at the muted tones that we've got on there. So I'm just going to try and see what it looks like if I add a little bit of grey to him. So I'm using the same ink that we used around the outside. Try not to get it on that flower. Actually, I might just take him off, put him on here. Let's tone that white down a little bit. I think he might fit quite nicely and have his tail going up the edge. He's quite cute, isn't he? Don't need much extra. So I've cut 3 of these little hearts out. So they kind of interlink a little bit more. And again, I'm using offcuts of what we cut off here. So nothing's going to waste on this page. Okay, let's have a look at the gems. Very glittery, dark silver ones. Put a couple of little ones on the name tag. A bigger one down by his tail. Little selection there. And we might just put one in the middle of that little heart there. And I think that will do us. So that's definitely a sleepy pet for our layout library. It's also using the sketch from the Black Magic sketch series. And we've also used some pattern paper as per Scraptember. So that's my page for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching that come together. It was fun to do from this end. I just love those photos of my beautiful boy. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I'd really appreciate you pushing that button. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Happy crafting, everyone.